Sanjay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to BNR's slightly later version of the Transfer Daily. Normally, I'm on my own, but today I have my colleague, Mr. Blue Chip, in the house. He's currently driving at the minute, so you're going to have to bear with him. He wanted to come on the show today. I was like, you know what? It'd be good to have him on. I think it's going to be his first Transfer Daily. But guys, before we do anything, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you haven't become a member, if you can, become a member of our BNR Ultras. But yeah, I think the topic of the show today is primarily on the outgoings. Obviously, I think we're gonna get the news hopefully today with Milos Kirk. The deal for Milos Kirk has finally been sealed, and then I think it's going to be what I called it the calm before the storm. The calm meaning that Liverpool will be looking to sell some players before we go again in the transfer market. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, Avi, I know you're driving right now. I hope you can hear me.
Can you hear me?
Man?
Hello?
What's going on?
1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, thank you for inviting me, Gene. My first, what do you call it? Transfer Daily. That's how much I know. So Transfer Daily at 2:30 UK time, 6:30 in the morning in California. So no, I'm pleased to be on. And I was driving to work anyway. I thought, you know what? Let's give our audience another Chip and Gene sequel, because yesterday we did cut short. We only did a 45 minutes. We could have gone into an hour and 30 yesterday, so we did cut short. But yeah, Gina, like you said, it's car boot sale now. Literally, players. Obviously,
I like that term, Avi. I like that term, car boot sale.
It is a car boot sale now, because we're going to see a flurry of players negotiating with other clubs, and you know it's going to be in full motion. We are going to be balancing the books. That's the way FSG operate. You know, we have spent quite a lot of money already, but now it's all about recouping money and balancing the books. And look, there's transfer fees to be made, Gene. There's no doubt about it. There's big fees in regards to our players that we will command from clubs, and we shall get them. You know, Kelleher, you know, we've sold him for about 15 to 18 million, including add-ons. You know, Jarell Quansah, that's a great deal. You know, for 30 million euros or pounds, he's going to Bayer Leverkusen. And then the next, I think the trio that we've already said, you know, Chiesa, Darwin Nunez, who's in talks with Napoli, as we hear from Fabrizio today, and Harvey Elliott, who's talk of the town, who's had a great tournament, by the way, in the under-21s. I believe England has qualified for the semi-finals. So, you know, we're commanding 30 million. People think that we'll get more, which is great as well. So, yeah, a lot to do now when it comes to outgoings.
Yeah, look, Avi, you mentioned Darwin, and I think that's probably a best place to start. We'll start with what Fabrizio said in regards to Darwin Nunez. He goes, Napoli and Liverpool will have direct contacts today to discuss conditions of Darwin Nunez deal. Then he further on went on to say negotiations still at early stages, but Napoli had green light from Nunez, as revealed in recent days. The deal depends on financial requests now. But look, Darwin Nunez, look, deep down, we've mentioned it many a times that we know he's going to be leaving the football club soon. I think it's going to be more about the actual fee and what the actual fee is going to look like. We were wanting around the 50-60 million pound mark when we knew there was Saudi interest, but it looks like Darwin has his heart and mindset on a move to Serie A and to move to Napoli. When we looked at the yesterday or the day before news, Avi, we were talking on the fee around Napoli were willing to pay around the 37 million pound mark. That is way below the belt, and no way will Liverpool accept such a fee. What do you think the fee should be in terms of Darwin Nunez, where this deal gets completed, where Napoli are happy and Liverpool are happy? Sorry, I think Avi must be going through a bit of a...
Jane, sorry, I lost you there. Darwin Nunez and I think did you read out the Fabrizio tweet?
Yes, I did, yeah. And I asked you, I said, what fee do you think gets this deal done?
I think you'll get done around 45 million pounds, hopefully, with 10 million in add-ons, which would be a 55 million pound deal, all in all. Gene, I think it's a good deal for both player and club and Napoli as well. I think Conte will relish working with someone like Darwin Nunez. We've seen Conte before work with the likes of Diego Costa at Chelsea, the likes of Romelu Lukaku, players that just find their feet again. Diego Costa had a little bit of a spat with Jose Mourinho in that sort of second season. And then, it meant that Jose was, he departed from Chelsea. And then, Conte will come in and do his magic. And likewise, he'll do the same with Darwin Nunez. I think you'll get a tune out of him, Gene. I think the aggression in Conte will bring out the best in Darwin Nunez. And I think Italian league will suit him. He will get a lot more space. It is a little bit slower. You do get a bit more thinking time. And I think he'll score goals. We've seen other players who haven't, unfortunately, done it in the Premier League, who have gone to Italy and scored bag full of goals. Edin Dzeko was still scoring goals at the age of 36, 37 for Roma and Inter Milan. So I think Darwin Nunez, he's still 25. It is World Cup year. He's got a point to prove. And I think the Nepalese fans, the fans in Napoli, the Naples, they will take to him as well.
In terms of the fee, I think Liverpool won't sell less than £50 million, maybe 50 plus 5. I think that is what the figure that Liverpool will definitely command. And if Napoli can't get this deal done at 50 plus 5, maybe a 45 plus 10, like you mentioned, but there will be other stipulations in there where the add-ons are easily achievable. And maybe somebody mentioned there might be a sell-on clause in there. But I think when a team is playing over £50 million for a player, it's difficult to get a sell-on clause on top of that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Darwin Nunez. Because look, you mentioned Avid outgoings. You mentioned Liverpool have already got players out of the door. Kelleher's gone. We've received 10 million from Trent. Obviously, Nat Phillips is gone as well. So there's going to be a lot of moving parts to this jigsaw. And Darwin Nunez is an integral part to this jigsaw, because once he leaves, it opens up a door for Liverpool bringing in a striker. But then there's also talk with Federico Chiesa. I'm not sure you're aware of it, but he shares the same agent as Milos Kerkez. With Milos Kerkez's agent probably being in Liverpool as we speak right now, there may be conversations with Liverpool while he's there, thinking, okay, it's time to wrap up what's going to happen with Chiesa. And again, another thing I'm going to ask you is the fee in regards to Chiesa. Where do you think he will end up, and what sort of fee do you reckon Liverpool will command?
I think you've made some great points. I think with Chiesa, if we can just break even with Chiesa, look, we all wanted it to work. We all wanted Chiesa to recapture that form pre-ACL. When we saw him tear up England and score in the final of the Euro 2020, and he was brilliant at Fiorentina, first season at Juve, but unfortunately he still hasn't recovered. And it's very hard to rediscover your form after a serious injury. I mean, this guy was, we talk about Florian Wirtz being Germany's next sort of pin-up star. This is what Chiesa was. And unfortunately for Chiesa and someone like Nicolo Daniolo, for Roma, they've just had bad injuries, and they haven't recaptured that early form. But for Chiesa, Gene, we've got to just break even. For me, there could be a loan deal for a season and then subject to buy from a club in Italy, but it's got to be we've got to just recoup what we sort of spent on. He was a very good opportunity at the time at 12 million. So I'm happy with, happy to break even. He's won the league. He only played 124 minutes of Premier League football. It wasn't enough, and it is World Cup year. And I think all in all, it will be an amicable sort of farewell. We've got that song that we'll cherish for many years. I think we'll still sing that post Chiesa leaving Liverpool. But yeah, break even on Chiesa and we go again. And then you're recouping around, 60 to 70 million pounds in Chiesa and Nunez alone. And that's without the Harvey Elliott's, that's without the Tyler Mortons that have got to come into play. That's without Robertson and potentially a Simicast fee as well. So there's a lot to recoup. And then we go again, pretty much, Gene, in the market again to buy and purchase.
Yeah, look, we've gone through in terms of the forwards. That's Darwin gone, and the potential of obviously Chiesa, where I think 99% of us are pretty sure that he will leave the football club at the end of the season. Well, sorry, in this summer. And yeah, 70, we recoup around 70 million pounds. Then you're talking around that money will probably, slightly probably bring you Ekitike, if you ask me. But then, as other players have mentioned, there are players that play for Liverpool that could command really, really good fees, yet weren't even in the squad. And I'm talking about the likes of Ben Doak. Ben Doak, Avi, I think it was in January that we were looking at, we were wanting around 20 to 25 million pounds for a Ben Doak. Where else he had a successful spell at Middlesbrough before he got injured. And that's another player, Avi, where we can command, and we've seen the likes of Everton be interested in Doak. So you can imagine Liverpool will command minimum 20 to 25 million pounds for this player. And if you add that on, you're talking close to 100 million pounds, Avi.
Yeah, and Ben Doak is the one that slips away. I think because he was on loan at Middlesbrough last season, he did pick up a bad injury towards the end. Not as bad as the previous season. I think he had a PCL or an ACL previous season. I'm not too sure, but he had a serious injury the one previous to this season. Um, Ben Doak's a funny one, Sheen, because he does excite me in terms of his pace, his directness with the ball. He can play on that right. Is he good enough to be playing in the Premier League? Yes. Is he good enough to play an understudy to Mohamed Salah? Probably, but will he get enough game time and maturity to develop his game? I'm not too sure. So I do think that he will be on the market. I would have loved to have seen Arne Slot give him a real chance last season, but it's obvious last summer. But it was obvious, that he wasn't fancied, and they said, look, go out on loan. And even last summer, we were looking at a fee potentially, but then he did get his loan moved to Middlesbrough, and I think 25 million. If you can get 25 million for Ben Doak, who's hardly kicked a who's hardly kicked a game of football, he's hardly kicked a football in the Premier League, Gene, then you're laughing, really, isn't it? And then you're recouping 100 million, which you're talking about Ekitike. Look, there's only one man that I would put that money towards, and that's Alexander Isaac. And we won't go too much into it because we have spoken of Isaac
Yeah.
and in depth. So, but if you're recouping 100 million, Gene, you've got to go Nassau to Newcastle and say, listen, here's 125 million. Give us Alexander Isaac. And if there's a little bit of add-ons that you've got to put, a little bit of spice that you've got to put on the money, then do it. But Ekitike for 70 million, I think that's a doable deal. I still don't think we will pay that much. I don't think there's a club that will pay that much for Ekitike, Gene. I think Frankfurt, if they want money, they will have to lower their terms for a player of that, because he's only done it he's only had a breakout season last year. You've got to be careful as well. And they've done this before where they've recouped a lot of good money for players, but they haven't gone on and done it in other leagues. And I know there's question marks over Marmoush, and he's had like a sort of steady start to City without really lighting it up. Luka Jovic, we've talked about many weeks ago, who was this hot shot Serbian, didn't do it at Real Madrid. Ekitike, there's always that little risk. So time will tell, Gene. But listen, yeah, you get that fee for Ben Doak, and then the Tyler Mortons as well, Gene. You're looking at maybe 7 to 10 million there, 7 to 10 million for Simicast, 7 to 10 million for Robertson. You're recouping well over 100 million then.
And this is the thing that from a Liverpool perspective, we know this is going to be a busy summer in the incomings, but an unbelievable summer when it concerns outgoings, because in terms of what we could recuperate is actually mind-boggling. Considering we've got so many players that are really good, that are good players, where we can command decent fees. There was also news, Avi, today that I read, obviously in regards to, I think it was James Pearce from The Athletic. I'll read it out to you, and he mentions a player that you really liked. He goes, Stefan Bajicic and Tyler Morton are attracting a lot of interest. That's from Greg Evan and James Pearce from The Athletic. These are two players who, again, when you look at Tyler Morton, both know probably days are numbered. He will probably be sold in the summer. Again, you're talking a player that we're going to be able to command at least £15 million for. And then you've got the one player that you really like, Stefan Bajicic. Avi, what's your... Oh, you know what? They just all couldn't resist me having a shorter day. Right? They both couldn't resist. That, you know what?
The front three are back.
Yeah, they
Can you
couldn't
hear
resist,
me?
and they thought, you know what?
Yeah,
Let's
Hanjay,
all
we can
come
hear
on.
you loud and
Oh,
clear.
get up.
Asim, loud and clear, Hanjay.
Both of you driving,
Yeah.
both of you couldn't
You know,
resist.
I'm
Both
so
of you
used
wanted
to
to be part
calling
of my
you guys
show.
during the day. I thought, you know what these guys doing bloody live at 2:30? So I thought, you know what, I missed my call earlier. Let's see what the boys are chatting. What's the latest, Gene? What's the latest?
The latest Asim were literally talking about Tyler Morton and Stefan Bajicic. And you know, there was an article today, and I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet, but
Yeah, I read it. It said he could be doing some right back shifts. No, seriously, I didn't.
No, but on a serious note, Asim, he goes, there's interest in Tyler Morton. I think Tyler Morton, we all three will probably agree that it's time to go, where we can command another 15 million, 10 to 15 million for Morton, minimum, I think 15. And then he mentioned interest in a youth player that you two really like, Stefan Bajicic. Look, I sit differently to where you two sit. If Liverpool, and we know how ruthless Slot is, turned around and said, right, Stefan Bajicic, your time's up. What sort of fee are we looking at when it concerns him?
Ooh, you know, Bajicic or What are we calling him? I'm calling him Stefan.
Call him Stefan.
Just call him the badge. Just call him the badge.
Yeah, the badge. Look, it's a very, very difficult to price him. Like, I know when he came and, you know, sort of broke through the team, there was a period of time where the dysfunctional midfield actually started relying on this kid. And maybe as a consequence, his body just broke down and it's taken, you know, 12, 18 months or 2 years, you know, just to recover, and yet to have a proper reset. Or maybe he was just growing too quickly. We've seen young players have a similar problem. Even Stevie G was picking up a lot of groin injuries and earlier on in the season until his body matured out. But in terms of pricing him, what would I be looking at around about the 25 million mark? Is that too much?
Toba. What an absolute ridiculous
what would you expect?
Suggestion. I would say 10 to 15 million.
No,
Wow.
You both have got to remember this, yeah? He didn't
10,
settle
15,
at
wow.
Salzburg. He had a handful of games at Las Palmas. And look, I'm his biggest fan. You know, I've been raving about Stefan Bajicic for quite a while, for a few years now. But it does seem that the physicality of the Premier League is just too tough for his body. And that happens sometimes. They go to another league and they will play 38 games, 50 games for another club in another league where it's less intense. I think, Asim, 25 million, if you get 25 million, I will bow down to you. But I think around 10 to 15 million mark. Maybe with add-ons,
He is a very difficult one. He is very difficult to price. That's why
I asked. That's why I asked.
No, it's a really good question. What would you look for, Gene?
But Gene,
for me, maximum.
Gene, before you go, I do think, and this is just my assumption, I do think that Slot will give him a bit of a chance during pre-season and then go from there. I really do believe that.
But just before you go as well, Gene, but don't you think, you know, if we try to maybe get 20 to 25 million, is because we think, or everyone knows maybe, there is a higher ceiling compared to Tyler Morton.
Yeah, look, that goes without saying. Sorry, that goes without saying that he has a higher ceiling. I think we've seen that, but Tyler Morton's, you know, people raved about him before his season when he was on loan, how well he'd done. There was links with Tyler Morton to Bayer Leverkusen last summer as well as him. So, you know, it's not like he's got a small ceiling. His ceiling, you can turn on and say, yeah, he actually had the likes of Bayer Leverkusen want him and were willing to pay around the £20 million mark for him. But I would say Bajicic slightly higher simply because I think he played more games for the first team, where he played well in them 10-game cameos that he had before last season, and I think that's the issue that 2 years ago that was now. Sorry, so we were talking 2 years. The player hasn't really done much. Young lad, maybe 20 million sounds fair, Asim. I think 25 is way too much.
To be fair, his latest stint at Las Palmas, he was impressive in most of the games. He did play very well. And look, he was originally, and Asim will probably laugh now, his head off, he was a centre-back by trade when he first started off. So he could maybe do some shifts. Forget about right-back, I think we've got enough cover there. He could be one to look at for his versatility. And I know you like
Avi, please, man. No, Avi,
no,
you know when you start talking about like this, I really don't like it.
I am telling you that he has a lot of versatility.
He does.
He can do a number of roles.
A couple of shows ago, Gene, I said if Endo like leaves, which is probably unlikely now because I think the manager does like his cameo role and his professionalism as well and his low maintenance. But if he did leave, I could have seen Bajcetic do that sort of, role where you come in for 10-15 minutes at DM, you get some cup games at right back, you do some shifts at centre back. He is that kind of player. I'm with Avi. He does have a lot of versatility.
A question for you, Gene. A question for you. We saw
you can't stay fit.
No, Gene, I've got a question for you. Ryan Gravenberch was superb last season. We got young player of the season, whatnot. He won a few awards and player of the month as well. Yeah, he had a great season. But the last 2-3 months, he did have a little bit of a drop off. Understandably so as well because of the workload and he was tired. Wouldn't we still want Bajcetic to do a few roles in that position, in that 6?
With all due respect, yeah, you're actually beginning to piss me off. I'm actually being serious. You're actually beginning to piss me off a little bit. And respectfully, Avi, respectfully.
No,
okay,
Gene,
I'm not speaking respectfully.
Hold on, Gene, respectfully.
Calma.
No. Respectfully, you wanted Gravenberch sold last summer. Before the slot era. You wanted Gravenberch sold.
Yes, I did.
So why are you so hasty on Bajcetic already?
Now let me speak. Okay, can you speak? Let me speak now. Before last season, when I mentioned Gravenberch, I was crying out that if we have the question was if you had to sell a midfielder. My answer at that time was sell Gravenberch because he wasn't playing, he wasn't doing anything. It looked a bit lost in the Premier League. That because I was so damn in a number 6, that I was like, okay, if we have to sell one, it would be Gravenberch, so we can bring in a 6. However, he's come in, he's played the 6, he's done unbelievably well, and he's made his position his own. Granted, for the last 3 or 4 months, couple of months towards the end, he slightly gave in. Gravenberch, over the last few years, doesn't get injured. Your boy hasn't played football for 2 years. He's had 6 or 7 good games for Liverpool when we were going through a bit of a weird season, and it was 2.5 years ago. Yeah, and now you want a guy that hasn't really played football for 2 years, hasn't really played in the Premier League, and still a young lad, and him to come as an understudy to one of the most important positions at Liverpool. I'm sorry, that's not good enough. I would rather keep Endo and sell Bajcetic, because at least Endo, I know what I'm getting. You talk about versatility, you're saying centre-back. Oh, Yara, you're taking the piss. Bajcetic at centre-back now, who's never played there for Liverpool for 4 or 5 years, and you want him to be in that position.
Gravenberch was playing centre-back. What I meant is
Gravenberch is different. Gravenberch did a few shifts there as well. He did a few shifts as well there last thing. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, he played in that position when we were down in a game, in a cup game. He played.
Yeah, that's what we meant.
Position.
That's what we meant.
You're talking about an understudy as a centre back. I don't want him anywhere near it.
No, we don't want him as an understudy. We don't want him as an understudy, man.
You're talking about a couple of shifts here and there. So you're going to keep a player just to have a couple of shifts here and there when you can get 20 million quid for him.
Okay, Gina, I tell you what, I'm going to agree with you here. I would sell Bajcetic and Tyler Morton if that was going to fund a deal for like a Mateus Fernandes from Southampton. I think that makes total sense as well. I think Mateus Fernandes has got the potential to be a very good player, a very, very good player. He was the impressive out of a bad bunch. I know Tyler Dibbling got his plaudits as well, but at Southampton, he was good, and that was a really bad team. You put him in a Liverpool team, you would see this youngster flourish, and he's a very good player who could do that job like Grav, and he can also play in an advanced 8 as well. Mateus Fernandes in for Tyler Morton, Bajcetic, I'm all in.
Yeah, this is what I'm trying to say to you.
I want to recoup that money for Bajcetic and Tyler Morton, and go get Angelo Stiller. So I think he suits Slot's style more.
See, now you're talking on my sort of level, aren't you? Now you get understanding what I'm saying. You sell
No, if
and you buy a
yeah,
player in that
I get
position.
that. I get that.
You have to buy a player.
But Asim still is going to be 50, 60 million euros.
Yeah, but at least if we recoup 30 million from these two, put another 32 million from Linda's purse, we're there.
We'll have to wait and see what happens with the budget. You know what? I wasn't putting a ramen easy show today. Yeah, these two idiots come in and ruin my show now. Yeah, I'm now worked up because of what these lot do.
No, we'll come back to calmness.
One wants to play centre back. One wants to play centre back. The other one wants to play right back.
Asim, I have a question. Okay, moving away from Tyler Morton and Badic, we've all made our feelings clear. And we don't want to ruin the show. We do want to be a bit serious as well here. So yeah, guys, apologies if I've come in and ruined the transfer daily. I apologize on behalf of Asim as well. Asim, you asked a question yesterday on Chip and Chin about Mohamed Kudus.
Yeah.
Now you usually don't put anything up in comments like that or about a player. Were you putting some feelings out there? Are there any feelings in regards to Mohamed Kudus?
Feelings, eh? I mean, no, look, I was asking the question.
Avi, now he's gone. As soon as he was supposed to give us some sort of news.
I think he's gone. I think
just when he was about to give some news about him, he's chipped.
Gene, you know what though? I tell you what, I would take Mohamed Kudus, and I know we've got Florian Wirtz, but he can do a role somewhere for us. There is space for a Mohamed Kudus to play a big, important role in this Liverpool team.
I agree with you. I agree there's a role for him. And Mohamed Kudus, Avi, a year or two ago, I always go back to that game as Avi. I saw him play against us at Anfield for Ajax, and I thought he was unbelievable. Right? And every time I see him play, I know his numbers aren't great, which is sad because over his first season, you think, okay, TK, fine. He has had a decent start. This last season was his season to really kick on and go up a notch in terms of the next sort of level. Wait. Asim, I don't know which one of you's on and which one of you is not.
Can you hear me, boys?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, Mohamed Kudus, is Avi still there?
Yeah, I'm still there.
Yeah, look, Avi, I was exploring the idea of how the number 9 market is not great. Look, Alexander Isak, I believe, is on the agenda. Alexander Isak is admired. He is the dream signing. But obviously, there's a few moving parts that need to go our way for him to be in a red shirt next season. But after that, there's another hurdle when it comes to Hugo Ekitike in terms of his fee. Liverpool don't rate him as an 80, 90, 100 million pound player. If they get him at the right price, I can see them bringing him in. But as we've seen, Liverpool are also looking for a versatile. I think it's the theme of the show, isn't it? That word, versatile. But Liverpool, especially if Harvey Elliott goes, and we truly don't know the intentions. Everybody, including me, is talking about Florian Wirtz in the number 10 position, and then we look to get Szoboszlai in a deeper role and this and that. But truly deep now, nobody knows the role and the understanding of where Florian Wirtz is going to play. If he's taking a lot more false 9 positions on paper, then Liverpool could be needing another player in midfield who can do bits out wide as well. We've also been talking about Frimpong in the wide areas to cover Salah during AFCON especially.
Oh yeah, these two, man.
He's gone again. Yeah. No, I'm listening in. I think Kudus, and I think what Asim was trying to say as well, fluidity, Gene. I think Kudus covers a number of positions. And as a 9, Gene, if he was playing in a Liverpool number 9, say he was the focal point as a 9, I think he bags about 15, 20 goals in the league. You're talking about his stint at West Ham. The problem with the West Ham was the swapping and changing of managers. Potter's come in. He's got a new ideology. So it's taking the players to get up to speed. And he didn't have a great start, Potter, either, to his tenure. I think they'll be better next season. But kudos as a 9, as a focal point, and the fluidity that he could bring and drift out wide, and Salah can come central or go on the left-hand side, and Diaz can come through the middle, and he can drop back in a 10, and Wirtz can play that false 9. I think he bangs 15, 20 goals in this Liverpool team.
I agree with you. Look, I've always, I was saying, Avi, I've always liked Kudos. It's just his numbers haven't made sense in terms of his goals and assists. Every time he receives the ball, he's so difficult to shrug off. I really, really like him. And if we could bring in a player like Kudos, yes, he might not be the number 9 that I've been craving out for. I really want a 9. But if there isn't a 9 on the market, you know, Ethan mentioned Kudos of AFCON too. I don't think Kudos does, because I think they missed out on AFCON, and he's moved on, so he won't be going to AFCON in January. And he's a player number 1 that could probably play in the Salah role if needed. He can play, if we're not gonna play with the out and out 9, we can play with 2 9.5s, 2 false 9s if need be.
Oh, you're mute that little Javel. Can you mute that Javel? It's all background noise from him. Can you mute him?
Yeah, and another thing, Avi, he can do bits of everything in that position. The only thing that worries me...
Gene, don't rule him out. Do not rule him out. That's all I'm saying.
Rule Mohamed Kudus out, meaning that we're interested.
Can you rule yourself out of this show, please, because you've ruined it? Can you rule yourself out of this show, and because you've ruined it? I tell you what, Asim,
can you behave? Can you behave?
This is a big shout. This is a big shout. I will take Kudos over Ekitike right now.
Oh, so you were disregarding my comment last night. You just brushed it to a side. Well, now you want to talk about him, yeah? TK.
No, I'm sorry. Look, I apologize. I apologize for doing that.
Thank you. Apology accepted.
I would take Kudos over Ekitike as of now.
I would as well. I would as well.
I think him. Look, I wanted a 9 though, Asim. I ain't gonna lie and say I don't want a 9. I really, really want a number 9.
Okay, Gene, would you take Ekitike for £80 million?
No, I've said that before.
Okay.
I would not pay £80 million for Ekitike. It's too much.
Ask the chat. Ask the chat.
What's this? Okay, Ekitike or Kudus? Let's go with that's the question first.
Asim, do you think Kudos gets 15 to 20 goals in the league for Liverpool? In a 9?
No. I think he gets around about 10 to 12. Because you know, that is his weakness in pure output. You have to, you know, acknowledge that. Obviously, Liverpool will create more chances for him. Liverpool will make sure he spends a bit more time in the box as well. But I think when it comes to Kudus, is you have to let him carry the ball a bit, rather than just being positioned in the box.
Okay, would you pay £80 million for Kudus?
Whoa,
there you go, mate. There you go.
I'd pay about 65 million for Mohamed Kudus.
Would you pay 65 million for Ekitike? You would?
I don't rate Ekitike.
Gene, I think Kudos can get done for 60 million in my eyes. 60 million.
60 million quid from West Ham?
Yeah. You really think?
Do you have a release clause?
Minimum. I think you want Kudus. You're paying more than 75 million quid if you want him. And if you think you're getting him for 60 million in cloud cuckoo, man. He's not worth 85, 70 million. I think he's probably worth maximum 65. He's worth 65 million, if you ask me.
Paul Gormley, whoever he is, idiot, to be honest, said that he's got a 75 million release clause. We are not going to get 75. West Ham will not get 75 million. They will deal at 60 million for Mohamed Kudus.
I would be very, very surprised, Avi, if that is the fee. Very surprised. I'd be very surprised. And yeah, look, to be fair, let's talk football. Caden goes, I would pay 63 million for Osimhen and start this conversation off. I agree with you. I think all of us would pay 63 million for Osimhen and get him in. But then, when you look at everything, it's a difficult one. And I'm a huge fan of Victor Osimhen. And I've been speaking about Osimhen for weeks now. that if I didn't get Isak, he was my number one target after him was Victor Osimhen. So Harvey Elliott, Asim Harvey Elliott, links to him with Brighton. I love asking this question. Harvey Elliott, number one, does he go to Brighton? And number two, what's the minimum you would take for him?
Well, we got 35 million from for Kwanzaa, 30 plus 5 from Leverkusen. This lad is an attacking player, age on his side. I would expect Liverpool to get the 40 million pound for Harvey Elliott. I think they will do that.
That's the minimum.
Yeah, you have to accept. He has to fetch more than Kwanzaa, doesn't he?
100%.
He's got more experience than Kwanzaa. He's more established than Kwanzaa, albeit different positions. And I think look, Brighton do sell well. We've got a good relationship with them, but I'm sure they can give us an extra 5-10 million for once as well. They always won after the Caicedo deal. We got them an extra 15-20 million pound from Chelsea. So, but look,
but then they're going to say you took our pants down for bloody McAllister.
No, but they could have lost him on a free chin. McAllister, to his credit, the man that he is, he's signed a new contract.
His reception is absolutely. Yeah, please just go back to your pharmacy, please. Go and sell some medicine, please.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna call it a day for this show anyway, yeah, because it's you two just your receptions are absolute shite, yeah. So I'm gonna get rid of both of you. I'm gonna speak for a little bit and tea for you two. Are we on tonight? Are you coming on tonight?
Gene, I've been good, haven't I? Isn't my reception
to be
coming
fair,
through?
Avi, you've been good. Your reception's been good.
Look at him. This guy. Look at him. Sucking up to him.
Yeah, Avi, this guy came on and he ruined my show today, Avi. So you know what? He's going first.
Asim, just take some time out.
Avi, there you go. Yeah, now see, there's a bit of peace now, Avi, because we didn't have him on.
Yeah, there's
now there's peace, harmony, ramen, no issues.
I can be a good guy again. Yes.
Yeah. No, but on a serious note, Avi. Harvey Elliott.
40 million for Harvey Elliott would be superb money. I think 30, 35. Look, he's mentioning that, he's got
30, 35 for Harvey Elliott.
I've told that to you before, that 30, 35 million I'd be happy with. If we get 40, I'm ecstatic if we get 40 for Harvey Elliott, especially in England.
Bro, if he went for 30 million, I'd be not happy about that deal, man. I want 40 million minimum.
No, and look,
I want 40 million for Harvey Elliott.
I just hope that we get that fee. I'm happy with 30, 35. I'll be more than happy, Gene.
Nah. I look even because but honestly, 35. Paul goes 35 million plus add-ons and sell-on clause. Ale goes 40 million. 35 million for Kwanzaa, easy 50 for Elliott. Matthews goes, okay, maybe that's a bit too much. But on a serious note, for me personally, 40 million minimum is the fee that I would want in cash, meaning there's no add-ons or anything like that. Plus add-ons, plus maybe 5 for Harvey Elliott. Harvey Elliott's got a very, very high ceiling, and I think he'll do really, really well at another club. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. Today was all about outgoings and primarily, and not, I know we spoke a bit about incomings as well, but generally speaking, it's been all about outgoings. And one more, I think we'll touch up on one more player before you move. It's your boy, Luis Diaz. Not much has happened recently regarding him, Avi, in regards to moving. Obviously, Barcelona have now.
There's talk of sorry to cut you off so early there, Gene. There's talk of Bayern Munich, and I think that does make a bit of sense because Gnabry's been injured and his form's not been great. Sane, I think he's gone to Turkey now. Coleman is hit and miss. He's had serious injuries. He could play on that left. Thomas Muller as well, who's gone now. So they got Olise, Kane, and Luis Diaz. That would be a potent front three. But I'm not sure
with Musiala.
Musiala as well, of course. Who can forget Musiala? I'm not sure whether Bayern Munich have that kind of cash that we're looking for. I think we want about 60, 65 for Luis Diaz. I don't think Bayern will stump up the cash, especially regarding his age. He's going to be like 29 in December. So,
Yeah.
January, sorry. Would they part with 65, 70 million euros? I'm not too sure.
Obviously, I saw some links with the Bayern and Rafael Leao as well. So it probably makes a lot more sense that they're going for a player that's obviously younger, slightly a few years younger than him. I think he's 25. It makes a lot more sense for them to probably go for a Leao rather than a Luis Diaz. I know they were linked to Cody Gakpo as well, but I don't think Cody Gakpo will be leaving the football club. But I think, guys, I think that's the wrap for the afternoon show. There's nearly 200 of you in here. We've gone 40 minutes. Do like and subscribe to the channel, everyone. We will be going later on tonight. I'm sure Asim will set that stream up at probably around 10:30. So yeah, guys, over and out. Take care of yourself. And Avi, thank you very much for joining me properly. Not the other one who couldn't hear him properly, but knew where he was going.
Yeah, he was pathetic today. Embarrassing from Asim.
He was embarrassing. It was embarrassing.
Hopefully, I didn't offend anyone in the comments. If I did, well, you know what? Take it on the chin. I shall see you lot on Friday, most probably. Thank you so much.
Take care, everyone.